What's going on YouTube? This is LA Prepper, and I have way too much energy for 2 in the morning, which is the no disc detected. My navigation has not worked in 3 years, 4 years. So this video is going to be kind of random, couple life tips, because I like to kind of make videos about stuff that affects me on my life on a regular basis. One of the reasons that I like to do that, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that, you know, kind of like thinking out loud. I find that verbalizing my thoughts helps me organize them, just helps me process them a little better. I don't know if other people are like this, but I'm like this, so that's what I do. I found the YouTube channel to be really therapeutic in that sense. You know, it's the YouTube channel, having a YouTube channel and trying to grow it and stuff causes a lot of different feelings, but getting off topic, back to the advice. So tip number 1, you need to buy a dash cam, maybe even 2 dash cams, one pointing forward and one pointing backwards. If you could, I don't know if they make ones that point both ways, but you get a better view when the one in the back is pointing backwards. You need a dash cam. In the last couple days, last week, I don't know, within the last few days, I was driving up in my neighborhood. Some car pulls in front of me, slams on the brakes, like they're looking for an address on a house or something, and then turns the corner. And I don't know if I even beeped, because I used to kind of be a little bit of an asshole with the horn. I still am sometimes, but I'm really trying to stop doing it. People are crazy. I don't have tinted windows. I don't have any really self-defense other than the knife on me, you know, and I'm not trying to get into road rage with people. And if there's one thing I've learned about craziness, is you should never underestimate how crazy someone else is going to be. Like, you never want to get in a crazy fight with somebody else, because chances are they will out crazy you in relatively short order. And I've seen that happen to me, not a lot, but more times than necessary. So the dash cam is a really great way to help you out. God forbid you get into an accident, but it's also a good self-check, because I find that with the dash cam on, I drive a lot more calmly. I'm a lot less stressed out about stuff. It's like, look, you do some stupid shit in front of me and we get into an accident, I have it on camera. One of my coworkers actually had somebody on the freeway do some stupid shit, little accident. I won't really go into the details out of respect for his privacy, but suffice it to say, it wasn't his fault, and he wasn't really in danger of having them accuse him of it. But like this thing with the car the other day, if those 4 guys were like, oh, we were just stopped on the side of the road, he just hit us, and I can't prove that he pulled in front of me and slammed on the brakes, that sucks, because there's 4 of them and there's 1 of me, you know? So get a dash cam. You need a dash cam. My suction cup mount broke for mine, which is really annoying. I guess I could 3D print another one, but to be honest, for 20 bucks, I might just buy another one. I actually already broke the one that came with the one that I got for last Christmas, and then I used another suction cup from another dash cam I had that the menu was in Chinese, and I couldn't figure out how to work the damn thing. The instructions and the menu were in Chinese. If just the menu was in English, but the instructions are Chinese, maybe I could have dealt with it, but so get a dash cam. And then just tonight, there was one guy with a bicycle halfway in the street. It wasn't my lane, but it was a different lane. There was another dude like scampering across the street, you know, a few hundred feet ahead of me. Dark-skinned guy wearing dark clothing at night on a dark spot on the street. You know, I scan ahead when I'm driving, but like, shit, dude, sometimes it's just hard to see people. for a variety of reasons, mostly because it was very dark outside. So, yeah, people just like driving like crazy for no reason. Other tips. People, including yourself, might or might not be, but probably might be more irritable these days than they normally are. You know, we're seeing these tuffles with, you know, people fighting over masks and calling the police on people not wearing masks, and protests and riots, and, you know, there's the global consciousness, if you will, right now is a little bit irritable. And there's some legitimate reasons that it's irritable, like this government shutdown and wearing masks everywhere and lines, and it's not so surprising because in some respects I think some of this turmoil is manufactured, like organized riots in some sense are organized. I don't know if every riot is organized, but I think there's a lot of organization going on behind the scenes. Certainly the government's trying to keep everything closed. Look, I get we're trying to prevent this COVID business, but I think it's gone a little bit too far. You know, you want people to wear masks, fine. You want to sort of like limit the way that people do business and encourage more virtual stuff and working from home, you know, that's fine. But to just straight up say that a business has to close, I think that's a little too government control for the level that this pandemic, quote unquote, is. So people are going to be irritable. Why am I mentioning this? You got to pick your battles. You got to really be strategic and think about situations that you're in and situations you see people around you are in, and figure out, you know, what your stance is going to be. Are you going to get involved? Are you not going to get involved? Are you going to say something? Are you not say something? You don't want to get into it with people right now unnecessarily, especially being that they might be more irritable. I'll give you an example. A homeless individual, and I assuming they were homeless because they're walking around the middle of the night at 2 a.m. Maybe they just, who knows? Doesn't really matter. But the way that certain people ask you for money or cigarettes or can I use your cell phone? Can I use your cell phone to call my friend is kind of a classic homeless thing, you know, kind of a sleazy thing, right? Like, shit, even homeless people have cell phones these days. Plenty of homeless people have cell phones. So, like, someone asking to use your phone, like, they're pretty goddamn broke if they don't have a cell phone. I'm not trying to, like, make fun of people in difficult situations. But anyway, so the guy is in front of my house, and I see him across the street, and then he crosses the street because he sees I'm smoking a cigarette. And he's like, hey, can I use your cell phone to call my mom or something? And I'm like, no, sorry, man. I'm not letting him touch it. Germ-wise, I don't want to get into a conversation with him. I don't want him to think that he can just come by my place and ask for shit in the middle of the night. So, no, fuck no. And he's like, well, hey, can I get $1 for the bus? And I'm like, no, dude, you can't. Sorry. And that's all I said. And he walked off, and he was kind of grumbling some shit. Fucking sorry, whatever. You know? But the thing is it worth being an asshole to someone in front of your own house? Someone who might not have anything to lose, someone who could relatively easily hop the fence, break a window, fuck with my shit, invite his friends over, set my shit on fire. Who knows? You know, you really don't know. And I sort of thought about that in the moment, like, look at this. You know, I kind of felt like he's just a scumbag trying to come up to me at 2 a.m. and ask me for shit. But the point is, you can't let that affect the way you treat people, because it'll come back to haunt you. It's just not worth it. So, and I guess thirdly, right now, you know, a lot of people are talking about food preps, water preps. I'm getting some solar panels in the mail today or a couple days or something. Take a look at your security. Do you have external lights at your house? Do you have some kind of personal defense plan? Do you have good relationships with your neighbors? You know, security isn't about having the most guns and the biggest guns and the most clips and you know, all that stuff, or martial arts or working out. Security is as much about prevention as it is about reaction. It is much better to not be in a situation that requires you to react than to figure out how you're going to react when you're in a shitty situation. I have been fortunate most of my life to not be in a lot of situations like that. And I take some amount of care to avoid situations which I can tell are going to put me into a questionable security. That's why I was pushing so hard for the house, because shit, I'm sleeping in my car in this one block, months ago. And within the same week, within a couple days, 2 different cars were burned completely to the ground. And how do you think that made me feel sleeping in my car? I mean, theoretically, I would wake up if my car was on fire, and you know, there's plenty of doors and windows. I'm not going to be trapped in my car, but that's kind of scary to see a car burnt to the ground on the same block that I'm sleeping on, or within a block away, you know. So I, you know, had worked with the team that I was working with and got my shit together and got the house with iron gates and all the windows, which in the present times, I don't necessarily regret. You know, years ago, I would drive through neighborhoods with iron gates and just think like how sad it is that all these houses have to have iron gates on this, you know, like they don't trust their neighbors. But then living in a community where everyone has iron bars on their windows and iron gates and stuff like that, and people's cars get sideswiped all the time, I begin to understand why it's nice to have a gate. You know, you go into a lot in California anyways, $1 million neighborhoods, and depending on the area, some areas will have just like open front driveways and stuff like that, but in other areas, everyone has hedges, gates. You know, my friend growing up, they didn't have a gate on their house, but they had a little camera that they could see who was on the other side of the door. And it was such a nice neighborhood. I always thought it was like a little bit paranoid. But looking back, you know, I'm sure that the dad was the one that was sort of adamant about getting that installed, because, you know, if his wife's home or his kids are home, it makes a lot of sense to check the door before you open the door, to be able to see who's at the door before you open the door. So I'm going to keep this video short. I'm already at 13 minutes, but the moral of the story, get a dash cam. A lot of crazy shit happening on the road. You don't want to be at fault for anything you are not at fault for. Be mindful of other people's emotional states in these trying times, in general, but especially in these trying times. And number 3, take a moment to take a good look at your security and make sure that you're doing things to help discourage people from messing with your house, messing with your car, messing with your person. You know, I could wear nice clothes and nice jewelry if I wanted to on the weekends, to work, whatever. I dress like a bum all the time. Part of the reason is because fashion is kind of annoying, and I've got other financial concerns right now, like getting the house fixed and such. The other reason is that I don't live in a great neighborhood, I don't work in a great neighborhood, and I don't always shop in the best neighborhoods. Just, you know, I'm going to this store or that store or whatever. So I really don't have a lot of motivation to wear nice stuff when I'm out. Yeah, maybe if I'm going out, I'll put on something a little bit nicer, you know, going to the bars or whatever, but I don't need to make myself a target. I don't need to be walking down the street with $500 or $1,000 of jewelry and clothes and, you know, brand new iPhone and, you know, I don't need to do that. Nobody really needs to do that unless you're a super baller, but I don't think most of us are super ballers, and those that do know that, you know, you don't need to wear your bank account on your wrist. So I'm home. I need to open my gate. I need what I really need is an automatic gate opener, which, you know, it's one of those things, like if I wait 5 years to install it, I'll be like, man, I should have installed this 5 years ago. So once I get the tenant, Once I get stuff fixed up a little bit more, who knows, maybe I'll put in an automatic gate. But that's 15 minutes. I'm home, I got a beer, I'm tired, and I think I'm done with making this video. So until next time, keep your stuff safer than I do, keep your emotions in check better than I do, and keep your dash cam operating better than mine is at the current state, and keep prepping.